Well, our anchor Marcel Gordon is at the Vodacom Dome in Midrand tracking that story for us. And Marcel, one would say that as articulated by the Minister, that 3.1% improvement actually says significantly just about the way in which our education system is going as a country, and maybe even the way in which matriculants and young people are adapting to the very same system.
Uveka, yes, coming to you live here from Midrand, where the auditorium has emptied out very quickly. They're running on a very strict schedule here, especially with our top-performing matrics who have been here, many of them with their families, and have been shepherded out of here to go on and take their celebrations elsewhere. Still with me, however, is the Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga, who has joined us here. And thank you so much for your time. I don't know how much sleep you've had over the last few days. You don't have a festive season. I don't think you've had one for a very long time.
And unfortunately, schools are reopening next week, so we have to quickly run to provinces to troubleshoot wherever there are challenges.
But the results today that you announced would buoy you and your team as you enter into this busy period. 81.3%, the first time that the national pass rate has hit 80%. You joked that perhaps this is a signal that you should exit stage left and you should stop while you're on a high.
No, it's true, because our system is very big and it takes just so much to really get things to move. And at 80%, we're vulnerable and you don't want to slide back. And we are beginning to put in place some of the challenges that we have not been confronting all the time. Ramping up from the bottom, get the early childhood program to go, to get the 3 streams, to get your reading campaign. So there are lots of big challenges at the bottom. So, and I will say, KZN also, there's been just real stability, real focus. But what is more important now, I think the system or the sector has reached a level where we can identify things that work and can build on them and focus on our difficult areas, which are your rural areas, your farming areas, your townships, but also focus on vulnerable children. We have strengthened our program on care and support. Because it's been one area where we've been extremely weak, to really focus on our psychosocial services to our learners. So those are the areas that we had started focusing on, and I think we need to strengthen that area.
A short while ago, you also spoke in depth about the problems your various provinces are facing around the dropout rate and how difficult it is to monitor that. There is looking at the age group of 22 to 25-year-olds, I think is what the survey that you use to try and give you an idea of where you should make interventions. When we look at the numbers of pupils or learners starting grade 1, the numbers of them that start grade 12, but then are not finishing it. What has that research taught you, and where do you think your department will be able to make interventions going forward?
No, but I always say to researchers who claim that they know more about dropout rates are not telling the truth. We keep statistics on an annual basis. We're able to say in 2018 how many learners we have. Every February, even this year, we'll be issuing what we call education realities, which give us an indication as to where the system is bleeding. And the system bleeds at grade 9 and 10, and we know why they're bleeding. First, it's they're becoming teenagers. And if you don't have adequate community and parental guidance, we have a problem. And that's one of the problems that we have, and that's why we rely on social development. One of the problems at that stage, it's deficits which they bring from lower grades. That's why we're ramping up from the bottom to make sure that they come with solid skills which enable them to go to cope with the curriculum, and that's why we're ramping there. So our interventions are also informed by the information that we have, that we always share with the public, that after grade 9 and 10 there are challenges. Some of them, as I say, are social, some are academic, some are financial. I mean, Statistics South Africa highlighted some of the problems that I never thought about poverty. Because I thought that if there's no free schools, we give them books, we give them transport, we give them food, it's enough. But find that kids from very poor families just get discouraged from just slogging it out and having the difficulties of dealing with poverty whilst at school. So they leave school. So those are the areas that, with the support and care program, we are trying to strengthen, working in conjunction with the communities, NGOs, but also with social development to assist us to keep poor learners longer in schools.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Gauteng reporting that over 70% of their grade 1 learners, who I think would have started school in 2007 or 2008, have now sat for the matric exams. What could your department on a national level learn from a statistic like that?
Now, even Western Cape has got very high retention levels. It also has to do with, as I say, one of the reasons learners drop is poverty. So your poor provinces, kids get very discouraged from just logging it out and leave. So it has to do with the economic status of the province. Gauteng has a better retention, Western Cape has better retention, but also, but there's also lots of support in those areas. Your psychosocial support, if kids are in distress, they can really, it's a smaller province, they can be cushioned and they can be supported, but we still are not happy. But the other point I always want to make, if you don't mind, as South Africa, in the continent, we have the highest retention levels. It's not normal for us as a country to expect that 1 + 1 it's going to be 2 at the end. There are lots of things that come in between. Kids are growing, kids are becoming delinquent, go to prisons, it's young people. So these people, all the other social problems impact on this on the schooling system. So South Africa, we have the highest number of learners who stay up to matric. The next one, I'm told, was Kenya. 27% of kids who started grade 1 go up to grade 12. So we are saying we have more than 50%. It's not good enough. We're a proud country. We put lots of money in education, and we know the value of education. We want as many of them to remain. But it's not every child, for instance, who's interested in history, in maths and other things. They want to use their hands. And that's why we are ramping up on vocational education. If you can see kids who flock to these schools where they have motor mechanic, they have, even your brightest kids just feel that they've had it with your academic subjects. They want to use your hands. And that's a normal development in education. If you look at France, for instance, they even have to encourage kids to stay in the academic stream because they go to the vocational. You go to Germany, 60% of their learners go to vocational. And we've had, and that's why I spoke about the architecture of the system, that itself it has been a problem. That every child, we assume, wants to go and do academic and go to university, whereas even people who qualify as doctors come back and be entrepreneurs and do building. So which means even the brightest of students, we channel them because we assume that you have to be an engineer, you have to be the following, whereas they might perhaps have wanted just to go into designs.
And then the challenge there is that higher education or tertiary education isn't just about university, that we provide those opportunities for those people who feel like an academic institution is not for them.
No, it's true.
Now, we're sitting with an unemployment rate that is especially worrying amongst our young people. How confident are you at the end, as you look at these results 2019, that the matric results that we're getting now, the curriculum that they're using, are preparing our young people either to go to a tertiary institution if they want to follow academia, or go the more technical or practical route, or just wanting to go and find a job? How positive do you feel that the matric results at least provides a base so that they can decide on a pathway forward?
I feel encouraged, but as I said in the speech, until we sort out the architecture of the system, we'll not be able to deal with the root problem of unemployment. Because it's not every child, as I say, who should be going through the academic stream. And unfortunately, our system up to now has been presenting only the academic education and very little technical and vocational. And by opening up these other parts, I think we'll, for the first time, it's not going to happen now, so that next day don't ask me to say it has not solved it out. It's going to take us some time to be able to open the correct pathways that are in employment. I'm encouraged by courses like robotics, so that even your bright kids who are technically inclined should be able to find pathways which are not necessarily university pathways. And it's going to take us some time, but I think that's the path we have to go.
Just quickly before I let you go, I know you come from a family of teachers. If memory serves, you used to teach history when you were a school teacher, something you feel very passionate about. A word for some of your top achievers to consider going into teaching and make that their calling.
you can ask Naptos. There's a strange thing. I'm not sure that young people, I really still have to interview them. We should go and look at the cohort of teachers in our schools. Young, vibrant, and fresh. We've reached a stage where even up to this year, we've not been able to place all the teachers. So I'm really encouraging young people to say, look at the others. It's a beautiful profession. It's vibrant. You stay young. I mean, if you're a teacher, you stay young because you're dealing with young people all the time. So they keep you happy. They keep you young. And we're young, still old. It's a beautiful profession. And I always say to young people, you don't get bored there.
We're going to leave it there for now. Thank you so much. The Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga joining us live there. Imagine having her as a history teacher back in the day. That would have been very, very interesting. Very quickly.